guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this video all on how to survive the first trimester when you have a toddler. A couple things I want to get out of the way. If you can hear Rowan, sorry, he's running around and playing as I'm filming this. And also I want to say a huge thank you guys for 40K. I am honestly shook. I won't go on and on, but I am the luckiest girl in the world and I love you guys so much. Hi, do you want to come up and say hi? Mommy cheated and Rowan has a binky. And that's kind of on the theme of today's video. We are focusing on surviving the first trimester, not thriving. I know that doesn't sound great and it's probably not what you wanted to hear, but this is just a very short season in life and you're not gonna inflict any permanent damage on your child by letting them have a binky a little bit extra or letting them watch a little bit of extra TV. Okay, don't touch, Rowan, do not touch. No. Come here. We've been watching a lot of TV, huh? You've been watching Spirit. A few weeks ago, I was not sure that I would come out the other side. It honestly felt like it was never gonna end. And I can promise you it will eventually. I'm gonna try to make it a little bit more bearable for you in the meantime. So the first thing that I want you to do is to track your nausea. So I want you to actually have a physical notebook or a note in your phone and write down the times of day when you're feeling the worst, the times of day you're feeling the best, and any other symptoms you're having around those times. And then you can see what patterns emerge. So for me, in my first pregnancy, I noticed I would get really sick if I didn't eat on a regular basis. And so I assumed this pregnancy would be the same. And what I actually found was my sickness was peaking when I was tired, not when I was hungry. So because I had that information, I was able to prioritize a little bit more rest, to ask Matt to help me in the morning so I could sleep in a little bit, to nap when Rowan napped, as cliche as that phrase is. And I was also able to plan my productivity around these hours. So I knew in the mornings, I probably wasn't gonna feel great. In the evenings, I probably wasn't gonna feel great. But there was a period of time between like 12 and 4 that I felt a little bit more like a human, and so that's when I planned to get most of my work done. If hunger is more of your issue, I have a couple of tips for you. The first one is to keep something bland by your bed, like on your bedside table, be it saltines or pretzels for me or bread. My first pregnancy, it was goldfish. Those aren't super bland. And have a few bites of whatever it is before you even go vertical for the day. So before you even sit up in bed, eat a few pretzels, a few saltines, a couple bites of something, and then give yourself like 10 minutes to kind of digest it and get that in your system before you get up. And if this means you gotta set an alarm to get up before you are woken by a screaming toddler, I think it's worth it, because if you can feel a little bit better getting up and not feel like you're starting your day already like at a disadvantage from being so nauseous, I think that's definitely a good thing. Now, I don't have like the perfect nausea buster, but for me, the things that like I think worked were ginger. I got the little crystallized ginger candies and I didn't want to eat them because they reminded me of being nauseous in my first pregnancy. Like I had that association, but they did help my stomach, so I forced myself to eat those. Seltzer water was a big one for me, especially because it forced me to burp and that made me feel better. I was also advised by a midwife to try half a Unisom at night and then B6, vitamin B6 in the morning and the evening, and that actually I think made the biggest difference for me. It definitely wasn't like I'm feeling like I'm at 100% or even 70 or 80%, but it helped me to at least be functional. Obviously, check with your doctor before you do anything like that. The next thing I have to suggest is not probably what you want to hear, but it's something that I needed to hear in my first trimester, and that's let your kid watch TV or have a little bit of screen time. Even if you're super against screen time, I want you to try to give yourself grace in this area and realize that this is a very short period of time. In the big picture, like this is just a season, and one tip that I have is to find a show that doesn't make you feel as guilty as maybe a different show would. Not that we should feel guilty for any specific kind of content our children are consuming, as long as it's obviously appropriate, but for me, I was noticing just from like it having a bad rep on social media, honestly, I felt really bad about Rowan watching Cocomelon. And we definitely did still watch Cocomelon. Cocomelon's great when you need it in a pinch. But I also found that putting on a different show helped me to feel less mom guilt. And therefore, when he was watching it, I would snuggle him and I could relax a little bit more. So we were watching Spirit, which is so funny because like I wasn't a horse girl or anything growing up, but it was just like a Netflix recommended one and he seems to like it. So while I'm on the cliche train, ask for help and accept help whenever you can, whether it's from friends, family members, your significant other. I know as moms, we tend to want to do it all, and it can be hard to accept help and especially to ask people for help. But you gotta get past it. You just gotta do it for your kiddo's sake as much as your own, because I know for me, I wasn't able to match Rowan's energy in my first trimester. And I felt so bad because he wasn't getting that like excited playtime mommy, because I was just like, I felt dead, you know? And so asking my in-laws to come over and play with him, or asking Matt to let me sleep a little bit extra so that I had more energy for him, was a huge benefit to Rowan as well as to me just surviving. Also, nap whenever you can. I'm a big fan of the whole philosophy of like, don't do anything while your kid is asleep that you could do while they're awake. So I try to pack all of my productivity and chores and stuff into the times when I was feeling well enough when Rowan was awake, so that when he took a nap, I could take a nap. And there were also days where I would get into bed at like 7 or 8 o'clock. And that was just what my body needed. And like I said, it's a season, and I just had to accept that I was going to be less productive and require more help during this season. And it was hard. I didn't feel great about myself a lot of days, but I got through it, and I think that's the important part. So then I want to talk about a few things that you can do to keep your kiddos entertained. So the first one is a mommy's helper game. And my friend Lisa, who is like a seasoned parent, has multiple children, gave me this idea, and I thought it was so brilliant. So basically, you can lay on the couch or sit in your chair or whatever and just ask your child to bring you things and to help with things. And if they're around Rowan's age, he's 18 months right now, he loved just like being a helper. And it kept him busy, and it kept me stationary, and it was a win-win. Another thing that she suggested was to play Mommy Giant, and Rowan was a little bit too young for this, but I thought it was a great idea, so I'm gonna share it anyway. She basically said that you like lay down on the couch with your eyes closed, and the toddler tries to see how close they can get to the Mommy Giant without waking her up. And then if they get too close, if they like poke you or whatever, you can "Rah!" And it sounded great. Like laying down, closing your eyes is part of a game. Prime in the first trimester. We also read a lot of books, combined this with the mommy's helper thing. So I would ask him, can you go get the book about Max and Nana at the park? And he would go and search for the right book. And even that killed quite a bit of time. And then we would just read. We would lay on the couch and read books on books on books on books. And thankfully that kept him entertained at this stage in his life. So if your kiddo likes reading, that's a great one. Another thing that I would highly, highly recommend is doing a toy rotation. So if you don't know what a toy rotation is, basically you put out a certain number of toys for like a 1 week or 2 week period that are at your child's level that they can access, explore on their own. And then you kind of keep an eye out to see, okay, what's holding their attention, what skills are they working on? And at the end of the period, you switch the toys out for different toys. So rather than having all of his toys in the playroom at once, we keep out approximately 8 at a time, and then I pull out the next 8 that I think he'll be the most interested in any given time. And this helps a ton with independent play. He would be interested for so much longer, and when we did the toy rotation, he felt like he hadn't seen the toys in ages, or almost like they were new, because you know, when you're 18 months old, 2 weeks is a lifetime. And so he would entertain himself and play really nicely by himself for longer periods of time. When I was in my most desperate time, I put out a call on Instagram for like, what are your easiest suggestions for activities to keep your toddler entertained? And people were a wealth of information. They came up with so many good ideas. And rather than trying to recap them all for you and probably butchering it with my pregnancy brain, I'm just gonna leave the link to the Instagram post down below and go check out the comments, because people are brilliant and I loved having so many different points of view. And like, people came up with awesome ideas for like creating busy boxes or super easy sensory activities with like not a lot of cleanup or prep. So definitely check that out if you can. So that's gonna be it for today's video, all about trying to survive the first trimester with a toddler. I wanna encourage you to give yourself as much grace as possible. I know it can be tricky, but like I said over and over, it's a season. You're doing a great job, and you're being a really good mom to the little one that you have growing inside of you. And I'm willing to bet that even just by watching this video and trying to figure out how to do the best for your toddler, you're being a really great mom to them too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you a lot, and I'll see you all in the next one.